Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Employee to Entrepreneur interview series. Today, I'm so excited to have Martha Henderson with me today. Martha Henderson from Rising Tides. Now, Martha has a really great story, and you're all going to love it. Martha started in the world of corporate, working in marketing, and she actually left that wonderful job she had to go into become an Olympic athlete in sailing. And then she competed, and then when she was finished that, she left that world and eventually started her own business. So I would love for you to hear that story. So welcome, Martha.
Thanks, Kim. Yeah, the reason why that wonderful job was so wonderful was because that was when we were working together, and we did,
yes, it was lovely to work with you.
And we had a lot of fun. I'm the least creative person on the planet, but Kim always came up with the great stuff, all the great ideas, took my bad ideas and made them really good. So
it was fun to work together, but
it was fun.
It was so exciting when you actually told us that you were leaving. You started to do a bit of training while you were on the job, but to really become to reach your goals, you had to leave.
Yeah, so my journey as an Olympian was a little bit different than a number of people because I actually ended up competing in the Olympics at age 40, which in sailing isn't that old, but if you compare it to other sports like gymnastics or figure skating or something like that, that would be unheard of. So sailing is a bit unique because it changes the equipment or the types of boats that are sailed in the games occasionally. And the type of boat that I had been sailing at a fairly high recreational level was named to the Olympics in 2000. And so I was able at that time to sort of take the opportunity to pursue this dream. Otherwise, the other types of boats that were in the games just didn't really suit me, didn't suit my body type, etc. And this type of boat was perfect because I was already doing it. So yeah, as you mentioned, I tried to serve two masters at that time by working and competing. I had a wonderful boss, Paula Menzies, who I think was worked into the ground because she used to cover for me when I would take extra time off, leaves of absence and things like that. But then as we sort of came into the last 8 months prior to the trials, I decided that in order to give this any sort of chance, I had to concentrate on it full time. Unfortunately, we didn't qualify in 2004. And I was at sort of a loss as to what to do, whether or not to shelve all of the learnings that I had gathered over those 4 years and quit and go back to normal life or pursue it. So yeah, it ended up being for me an 8-year journey. And again, it was just about the journey was the main motivator behind continuing to go through for 2008. But as an athlete, you especially at that age where I was living with my parents at times, I lived house sat for a friend for a while, but like when you're 35, you got other life expenses and stuff. So I did do some consulting and some contract work during that time to try to fund the campaign.
Right. Well, I know that you worked your butt off, even just training, and I was so impressed because you really have to dedicate to it. And you're right, it wasn't like you were just coming out of college and starting to train or had been continuing. You were changing your life, which was like it was massive. So then to not qualify in 2004, and how did you decide to continue on, and what changed?
So it was a pretty tough decision because the two girls that I was sailing with at the time, unbeknownst to me, got engaged just before our trials. So they had decided that they were in committed relationships and wanted to get married and have kids. And one of the girls was 40 at the time, and the other girl was 32, and obviously, and I was 36. So those were the types of decisions that were being made at that time. I was not in a relationship, and I just decided, I talked to a bunch of people, and one of the things that I learned in a couple of books that I read is I looked for counsel rather than advice, because advice comes from the person on the street, and I got a lot of that, a lot of negative advice. You're too old, you'll never get a job again if you pursue it, if you pursue another campaign, if you don't quit right now.
Wow.
I was getting all these messages from fairly senior people in business, but they didn't know anything about the sailing world or what it was that I was pursuing. But then I got bumped into rather athletes who had pursued this journey and continued on and had succeeded in business afterwards. And their advice to me was that if I was doing it just to compete in the 2 weeks of the games, then it wasn't worth it. But if I liked the process and I loved the journey and the people and the travel and everything that you had to do to get yourself there, then it was worthwhile. So with that advice, I decided to keep going. And a few things fell into place. The boat that we were sailing, one became available. A very good boat became available. The Spanish team were sisters, and they fought all the time. And the Spanish had put a deposit down on this boat, and then the sisters fought and decided that they weren't going to keep going. And so the boat builder called me and said, well, this boat is available. If you're going to go, you better take it now. So I said, okay, well, we'll take it. I'll take it, and we'll put the rest of the pieces of the puzzles together. So,
oh, wow.
Just some good things in the universe sort of came into my path at once. So,
and yeah. Was it the same people
No.
that, you had a different team?
Had to completely rebuild it because the other two girls went off and they got married, great guys, great kids now. But I had to pull together a completely new team and really decide what it was I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And so it took a lot of different people to find those that had this like mindset, similar goals, who wanted to do this at the level to actually make it to the Olympics. And I'm not even saying the way I want to do it. It was just what was required for you to achieve that goal. There are a lot of people who are a lot better sailors than me. There is no question about that. But it does take a certain level of commitment, perseverance, sacrifice to achieve. And I mean, I use that word sacrifice, but I don't actually believe it was a sacrifice. It's enhanced my life dramatically. But did I miss a bunch of friends' weddings, and did my career have to completely reorient after that? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But as you said, it was worth it.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah,
very much.
Yeah. But impressive, because like, I'm just thinking, so you trained for a whole bunch of time to qualify for one. You didn't, then you had to reconfigure everything, and it was like starting again. So amazing, like, great leadership skills.
Well, yeah, and as I say, at the age that there were not many people who were my age who were willing to drop their entire careers and lives to go and start traveling around, competing, training, going to the gym, put the rest of it on hold. So yeah, I was competing with younger people, like in the same boat with younger people. There were other women who were competing from other countries who were the same age, and everybody came from different backgrounds and lots of different experiences. But in the team that I ended up going to the Olympics with, the person who was steering the boat was 10 years younger than me, and the person who was at the front was 18 years younger than me. The music that she liked or the music that I liked was now retro to her. So it worked.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So then you did go and you qualified and got into the Olympics in 2008 and got the whole experience there.
Yeah, absolutely. It was pretty surreal, because I had been involved in the Olympic movement for a long time. My dad was involved, And so I'd been to 6 Olympic Games as a spectator before I actually went as an athlete. So I had a bit of an understanding of some of the inner workings, but never from, quote, the athlete view. And it was pretty surreal. Every once in a while, I had to stop and take a moment and just say, yeah, this is special. There are only 400 people in the world who are doing this right now. And it was very unique and very like, the regatta, the sailing part itself is a blur. Like again, it's like 12 years ago now, but I remember certain elements of it, but the parts that stick out to me are more the engagement with the people. The sailing regatta is 7 days long, so it's a long event, and
it's not just like you go out once and
no, it's 7 days of being on the water from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And it was really, really hot in China at the time. High humidity. They weren't reporting the accurate temperatures because they were saying, oh, it was 32 with humidity, and it's like, no, it was definitely what our individual temperature gauges were saying was at least over 40 with 100% humidity, and it was hot, and when the waves were choppy, and it was, but so the regatta itself was very, very difficult. But the first day we actually were second after the first day, so we became a highlight on CBC, and sailing is never on CBC. And so all of a sudden my inbox is, and it was when Facebook started, and I came back to the village and my Facebook page had exploded, and I was getting all these friend requests from people from high school who I hadn't talked to in years. And they're like, we just saw you on TV. And I was like, what? You were on TV? What are you doing? You're on TV?
That's amazing. Yeah, so I know you didn't come in, you didn't medal, but like, what an experience.
Oh yeah. The journey was amazing. Just absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So how did that, so what was life like after the Olympics were over? What, did you have a plan?
No. So you're trained and coached to have no plan. Your focus is on the games and everything you have to do for that that time. Don't think about anything else. Don't allow anything else to distract you. And that was, so when we came back, like literally got off the plane, and was like, now what? And I have to admit, I spent a couple of months on the couch, like 1 full month on the couch, not knowing what to do, because there was no motivation to go to the gym, or like your structure of your day is done. So there wasn't a plan. All I knew was that I had no money in my bank account, and I was in a significant amount of debt, and I needed to get a job. So I started to apply for just whatever job I could get, just to start to pay off the debt and pay the bills. And I, again, being older, I'd had a resume of marketing and sponsorship and sports marketing that I could fall back on. So and actually I knew this, which is probably not a good thing to say, but I knew that the first job after the games was probably not going to be a long-term thing, because it was such a shift to go from being on the road and competing and going for this one goal, that if I had a friend in a business, I didn't apply for that job because I didn't want to let them down, because I knew that I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew I needed to get a job. So actually I did get a really great job, and it was fabulous for a year. And but it was a good transition job. Actually, the role itself was a transition role, so that was okay. I don't think I let anybody down or harmed my career by doing it. And then I moved into another bureaucratic job. I was working for the ROM in group sales and membership, which for 5 years, it was a great job. But as I started to come out of that Olympic fog and really assess what it was I wanted to do that was going to fulfill my soul and my dream, I started to look for other things.
Yeah. Yeah. And how did you decide what to do? So let's tell people now what, did you go right into this?
No.
Okay. So let's continue on. So how you knew you wanted to do something else. So what was the next step?
Yeah, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to pursue goals. I wanted to have goals. I wanted to pursue goals. I wanted to have a reason to get up in the morning that was going to make me want to do something better every day or become better every day. And so when I was working at the ROM, I was actually introduced to a network marketing company called Argon. And I had no entrepreneurial background at all. My dad was an entrepreneur, but I had no entrepreneurial background at all. I loved the product. I thought the people were positive. And so I became a consultant for that, to start to just learn a bit about running your own business. And that being a business in a box, it was very easy to learn about like accounting and like taxes and that stuff. Like having a home-based business, it gives you like a really great foundation for that, and to also teach you how much you need to earn in whatever it is that you're doing to have a home-based business. I was my hand was forced a little bit, that I was transitioned out of the ROM. There was a significant change that happened in the leadership. Mm-hmm. And so then I just took the opportunity after that to continue on the entrepreneurial path. And through that, I started with BNI and layered on 2 other elements. I became a travel agent, and then I started the Rising Tides speaker series. And that speaker series was also in conjunction with the kind of the 10-year anniversary of going to the games and wanting to share the story of the journey of the Olympics. Because I actually thought that I didn't have a story because I didn't win a medal. I thought that the 13th place finish was something, I was a little bit embarrassed by it, to be honest, because you are going to win. But then the more people I talked to, and the more I kind of got out of my own way with that story, I realized that there is actually everybody has these really interesting journeys that they go on, no matter if they succeed or fail. It's all about the process that you're in to achieve whatever it is.
Yeah, it's amazing how you can dismiss what you've done.
Yeah.
When you're not doing it all of a sudden.
Yeah. The last speakers event that we had, Marnie McBean spoke. She was one of the athletes that I used to work with. And one of the things she says is to focus on your done list, not your to-do list, because your done list actually gives you more foundation about what you can do, as opposed to what you look like, all the things you haven't done.
Yeah.
So
that's great. I mean, we should all do that more. Because that's the whole imposter syndrome and all of that. And you forget all of the things that you've actually accomplished, big and small. And like, I can't even imagine that you would go through that after what you accomplished. Yeah. And, it's really interesting to hear as somebody, watching from the outside that, you didn't appreciate it after a certain point.
Yeah, well, I'm quite insulated because the sailing community is really small, and my mentors, my coaches, were all Olympic athletes. Some of them were medalists. My dad's a 3-time Olympian. He was a coach, and you look at your achievements in comparison to the people who are in your immediate sphere, and it was like, okay. But again, it's in the grand scheme of things, the whole experience and what it took to get there it was a full-time job. We did all our own travel, all our own planning of training, what regattas we went to. We hired and fired our own coaches. We did our own equipment development, all of that, obviously in consultation with experts, but the Sailing Federation, just because of the structure of the sport, they're sort of a central hub and everybody feeds into it, rather than like, whereas in other sports, track and field, they're very federation oriented, and those people run your events for you, and you have coaches that are Canadian coaches that structure your time for you and structure your training. No, we did that all ourselves. Wow. So, and also we were older, so like if I didn't like what a coach was telling me, I would fire him and we got somebody else.
Right. So. Yes, it's definitely a different dynamic. Mm-hmm. So you went off and you started. So did you kept doing Arbonne, mm-hmm. but you layered on top a travel agency, mm-hmm. and your Rising Tides. So explain to people what Rising Tides is.
So Rising Tides is it's a speaker series. It's an online presence of lifting people up. What I found in my corporate career that is a lot of people try to get ahead by putting others down. And I definitely aspire and live the quote, a rising tide lifts all ships. And I believe in working together to raise everybody up. So I do a speaker series 4 times a year. We're doing it online now because the last event was canceled due to COVID-19. But it's about people collaborating, coming together, a community building to lift people up and for people to share their journeys and their stories to inspire and motivate others. I am absolutely amazed with every event, the incredible journeys and stories that people have taken to redefine success in their work life, in their personal life. I mean, Kim, your story is incredible. You were one of the first speakers in my series because we had a similar journey whereby we had a corporate job and that ended and we had to redefine ourselves. And I think a lot of people go through that, and some people are ashamed by it. And I think the messages of your done list and collaborating with others and sharing with others in this community is an important one.
Yeah, no, I love attending your series. Your people are so interesting, so diverse. So mm-hmm. It's nice to hear the different stories, and it's amazing what people have gone through.
Yeah, it is. It is, right? So everybody comes at it from their own perspective and what it is, the cards that the world has dealt them, and it's how they come out the back end. I mean, what I think it's interesting from an Olympian's perspective is that people see just the shiny thing on TV with all the wonderful branding and everybody wearing their Olympic uniform, and they don't necessarily know that, I went to the bank and I maxed out every credit card I had. I maxed out my line of credit. I had every almost last penny to wire transfer to get the boat to Europe so that we could compete. And I'm literally crying at the teller's desk. And I think the poor woman, I felt so bad for her because she just wanted to get me the heck out of there. But I just was like, okay, we got to start finding some money because there wasn't any. But you don't see that. You don't see that on TV. You just see the end product, and there's a lot that goes into it. And my story is not unique from because I mean life is expensive.
Yeah,
and
you wonder how some of those people can even get to that point because it takes so much time and money. Mm-hmm. But like you have so many skills now, and now hopefully you don't take them for granted, and you were able to transfer that into running a business, starting Rising Tides. I think it's very interesting that you did the travel
Yeah.
At first, when you told me that, I was like, why are you doing travel? And then it started to all make sense because you had to do so much of it yourself.
I know more about international shipping and carnets and that than I ever thought that I would ever know. And yeah, so I liken my Olympic experience to doing an amazing race for 8 years with a 20-foot boat on the back of the car. So, and it is about creativity, finding, like, when you're told no, how to get a yes, or how to like get around something that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And we had that a lot. How to rent a car, put a trailer hitch on a car, where to go in Europe to have these incredible experiences, and either. But I mean, I have a lot of contacts all over the world who I can call and say, our training partners were from South Africa, and one of the girls, her family has a vineyard and an estate in South Africa, and I've recommended that a number of people go and stay there because it's absolutely beautiful. And and then there was a place in Italy that we went to, so there is a lot of synergies there. Yeah, it doesn't seem necessarily so straight line, but
yeah. So it's amazing. So I would ask to say, what was probably the biggest struggle that you had becoming an entrepreneur or taking that leap? Like, I know that it was a leap to go and become an athlete, but to actually leave the comfort of a corporate position and do your own thing, what was probably the biggest hurdle that you had to overcome?
Probably other people's perceptions of what it was I was doing, and my own inner voice of, having to take a step back and what success actually was, because you can give yourself your title CEO of your business, but what does that really mean, and how authentic are you being by putting yourself out there like that? So yeah, really it was a perception of myself and what other people were thinking, what I was doing. And then it was articulating what the brand was about, because I had so many different little layers of it. Right. And again, it was like my Olympic campaign, like focusing on one thing, and being true to that one thing, in a website. So I first started, I had a website and I wanted to have everything on there. And it was like, okay, Arbonne and travel and speaker series, blah, blah, blah. Well, Arbonne has its website and the travel has its website. And then, so my website focuses on the speaking and the events. Right. And to really make that true and clear, and everything else then lifted as a result of the clarity of message. So that was the mental challenge was perception. The branding challenge was the clarity of message.
Yeah. Well, you certainly sorted things out, and it's looking fabulous now.
Thank you.
So if you were to give some advice to a fellow entrepreneur, whether they're starting or are trying to continue on and grow their business, what would one tip be, or piece of advice?
The great line of get counsel rather than advice. Talk to people who are actually experts in their field and that you trust, and who will give you wise counsel, as opposed to your neighbor who doesn't necessarily know what's going on, or even your significant other, your family member. They're going to talk to you from a place of fear and may not give you objective fear and protection, right? So it's give you objective advice. So, I mean, Kim, you are incredible with branding, and the accountant that I use is a expert in home-based businesses. So the tax return is always way bigger than I ever think it's going to be, because they know how to maximize it. So, and I also think it's mind what you pay for, like you're going to get what you pay for, but also mind that you're not going too far too fast. Because I mean, this whole branding has taken 4 years to get to. So again, like an Olympic journey, it took 8 years to actually even get there.
Yeah.
These things take time, and you need to build with people who you trust, but who are also experts in their field.
Yeah, nice. Well, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your journey and your tips. It's been fabulous chatting with you. Is there, I know that your live events are have only been in Toronto, but if you're going to be doing more, would you be doing some more online events as well?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing some more online events. I also do keynote speaking, so sharing the story of the journey, as well as, the title of the keynote is Where the Gold Really Lies, and showing people that there is power in the journey, and that everybody who is in their role is an expert in their role and is a part of the success of the entire team. So I absolutely travel and do that. And there is some thought about doing more with the events. It just, again, it's the timing and making sure that it's actually scalable.
Yeah. So I will definitely put your contact information. Where should people contact you?
Risingtides.ca is the website, and I'm just Martha at risingtides.ca.
Fantastic. We'll share that with everybody. And thank you again, Martha. It's been great. And I really appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks for having me. It's always nice to see you.
Yes, you too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.